My 16-year-old daughter was yanked into a golf cart by two grown men in fake uniforms, on our land. They didn't knock. They didn't ask. They just grabbed her like they had a badge. I hurled the rake and launched myself across the yard, lungs burning, blood pounding. "Get your damn hands off my kid!" I roared, ready to tear someone apart. The taller one, bald, sweating, hiding behind knockoff aviators and a beer belly, didn't flinch. "She was trespassing," he growled, like that somehow excused kidnapping a teenager. "We're HOA enforcement. We're authorized to detain." Authorized? On my property? To snatch my daughter without a word? That's cute. Let me rewind, because these clowns just declared war. We didn't move out here to make a statement. We moved for the silence. 10 acres of open sky, quiet woods, and a stubborn little red barn that leaned like it had secrets. It wasn't glamorous, but it was ours. No streetlights, no neighbors peeking over fences. Just chickens, morning coffee, and my daughter Lily, 16, sharp as a tack, kind to a fault, and stubborn enough to be mine. We were happy, until the day she arrived. Green Ridge Estates was nothing more than rumor when we first heard it. Some planned community, being dropped like a Lego set just past our tree line. We laughed. Then they started building, house after identical house. Perfect hedges, plastic flamingos, mailboxes with gold leaf numbers. HOA country. And leading it all, Karen. I met her the day she marched down our gravel drive in white sneakers that had never touched real dirt, and a clipboard tucked under one arm like it was a holy scroll. She introduced herself as the elected head of the Green Ridge Estates Homeowners Association, then handed me a glossy welcome packet, as if we'd somehow been absorbed into their Stepford cult. I told her politely, our land wasn't part of Green Ridge. We predated the HOA. We had no interest in joining. She didn't like that. Within a week, we got our first anonymous code violation. My tool shed apparently clashed with the neighborhood aesthetic. Then came the notes about chicken noise levels, and the oddly timed visits from animal control. A neighbor quietly told me she'd heard Karen call Lily a feral child during a board meeting. I tried to brush it off. I really did. But Karen wasn't just a meddler. She was a queen without a crown, and she wanted to rule everything she could see. My land, my animals, even my daughter. She saw freedom and took it as a personal threat. It was a Saturday morning, sun-drenched, quiet, the kind that almost makes you forget the world's gone mad. I was out back with a rake, clearing leaves by the fence line. Lily had taken Pogo, our scrappy little mutt, for his usual morning walk around the property. Just another peaceful routine. Until I heard the shouting. At first, I froze. 2 male voices, one angry, one nervous. Then Lily's voice, high and tight with disbelief. "You can't touch me! This is private property!" I dropped the rake, didn't set it down, dropped it. My boots tore across the gravel as I sprinted toward the front gate, heart pounding like a war drum. As I rounded the corner, the sight hit me like a punch to the chest. 2 men, mid-40s, maybe 50s, both wearing cheap matching polos with Green Ridge HOA compliance printed on the back, were dragging Lily toward a golf cart. Pogo barked wildly, leash dangling, as Lily twisted in their grip. I roared, "Get your damn hands off my daughter!" They didn't flinch. The taller one, gut bulging beneath his belt, mirrored sunglasses masking whatever soul he had left, snapped, "She was trespassing. We're authorized to detain." "Authorized by who?" I barked, storming forward. "Karen, this isn't Green Ridge land. This is mine. You're trespassing." "She crossed into community property," the shorter man stammered, eyes darting everywhere but mine. "Her dog, relieved itself on HOA-maintained grass." I looked down. They were standing 5 feet inside my property line. The HOA-maintained grass was a patch of wild crabgrass my chickens refused to touch. "You think that gives you the right to lay hands on a minor?" I seethed. "You're impersonating law enforcement. That's a felony." She refused to identify herself, the tall one countered. Acted suspicious. Could have been casing the neighborhood. Lily looked at him like he'd grown a second head. "I was walking my dog." Her voice shook, but her eyes didn't blink. "And I told you that." "And this isn't a neighborhood," I snapped. "This is private land. You just tried to abduct a 16-year-old off her own property." There was a pause. For the first time, their fake authority cracked. The shorter guy's fingers twitched near his belt. He glanced at the golf cart like it might sprout wings and fly him out of this mess. And then, like clockwork, she arrived. Karen's Range Rover rolled up like a chariot of smug. She stepped out in a tennis skirt, pearls, and a visor that looked like it had been glued on at birth. Clipboard in one hand, phone in the other. She didn't even say hello. "Your daughter violated 3 separate HOA ordinances this morning," she declared, like she was reading from the 10 Commandments. "She's now banned from all Greenridge common areas, and a $250 citation has been issued." "Let me stop you right there," I said coldly. "First, this isn't Greenridge. Second, your citation is worthless. Third, you just sent 2 goons to grab my daughter off private property." Karen arched a perfectly penciled eyebrow. "We've updated the HOA boundaries to include this parcel." I laughed. I actually laughed. "You annexed my land? Like it's Crimea?" She didn't flinch. "The board voted. Majority rules. You're not a government, Karen. You're not even sane." Her expression tightened. She stepped closer, voice dropping to a low hiss. "Actions have consequences. You'll see." I met her glare with fire of my own. "So does impersonating law enforcement, and kidnapping a minor. You'll see too." Karen turned and strutted back to her car, heels cracking against my driveway like war drums. The 2 fake officers scurried after her. Lily stood silent beside me, shaking just enough that I saw it before she could hide it. I put an arm around her shoulders. "You okay?" She nodded, jaw clenched. "I got it all on video." I smiled, cold and sure. "Good. Then it's not over. It's just beginning. You still here? Then smash that 5 if you wouldn't let anyone lay a hand on your child. Ever." Karen didn't waste a second. By that evening, our mailbox was stuffed with a thick, glossy packet titled, "Greenridge Compliance Enforcement Action. Urgent." Inside, a stack of printed violations, each more absurd than the last. Page 1, unauthorized livestock, our chickens. Page 2, unregistered minor, Lily. Page 3, non-compliant tool shed paint color. I stood in the kitchen holding the packet with 2 fingers like it might be contagious. Lily peeked over my shoulder. "They're serious?" she asked. I stared at the line that read, "Action required. Submit to architectural review within 7 days or face escalation." "They're delusional," I muttered. But Karen wasn't done. The next morning, a shiny new metal sign had been hammered into the edge of our fence line. "Greenridge HOA jurisdiction begins here," complete with the HOA logo and some bogus ordinance numbers. It was on our land. I ripped it out with both hands and threw it into the fire pit. That same afternoon, 2 men in reflective vests, clipboard warriors, showed up for a surprise property inspection. I met them halfway down the driveway. "You're trespassing," I snapped. One of them blinked. "We're here on behalf of the HOA." "Wrong property, wrong authority, wrong day." They left. Fast. Then came the real punch in the gut. Lily came home from school quiet. That wasn't normal. I asked what happened. She pulled out a folded newsletter, the Greenridge Monthly. On the front page, a photo of her, grainy, clearly cropped from our security camera footage, standing by the chicken coop. The headline read, "Teen caught exhibiting aggressive behavior near common grounds." My heart dropped. Inside was a 2-paragraph blurb about suspicious youth activity, urging residents to remain vigilant. It never named her, but it didn't have to. Everyone knew. Lily didn't say a word. She just walked to her room and shut the door. I stared at that picture until my vision blurred. My hands shook. Karen hadn't just crossed the line. She'd set it on fire and danced on the ashes. She was targeting my daughter, publicly, maliciously, spinning lies, weaponizing gossip, poisoning the neighborhood one glossy newsletter at a time. She thought she could isolate us, scare us into submission, break Lily's spirit. She didn't understand what she'd just done. She didn't know that the fire she tried to light under us would be the one that burned her little kingdom to the ground. I folded the newsletter, placed it next to the HOA packet, and picked up my phone. "Maddie," I said when my cousin picked up, her voice groggy from late-night trial prep. "What's up?" I didn't hesitate. "I need a lawyer, and I need a war plan." Maddie didn't hesitate. "Send me everything," she said. "Photos, letters, that ridiculous HOA packet. The newsletter, too. I want the whole circus." I spent the next hour digging through folders, screenshots, saved security footage. Every passive-aggressive note Karen had ever left in our mailbox suddenly felt radioactive. And it was just in time, because Karen had already started her next move. That evening, Lily came running inside, face pale. "The fence is down." I blinked. "What?" She dragged me out to the east side of the property, and there it was, a 10-foot section of our boundary fence ripped clean out. Posts snapped like toothpicks, chicken wire twisted and dragging, and lying at the base, a green HOA flag, staked right into the dirt. "They vandalized our property and planted their flag like it's a conquest," I growled. I called the sheriff's department. 2 deputies showed up, took pictures, wrote a report, but when they tried to talk to Karen, she refused to open the door. Coward. But she wasn't hiding for long. 2 mornings later, I opened the front door and froze. Karen was lying on her back at the end of our walkway, arms splayed out dramatically like she'd just been launched from a cannon. Her visor was crooked. One shoe had somehow come off. A crowd was gathering. She moaned just loud enough for the neighbors to hear. "I was pushed," she gasped. "You've got to be kidding me." I walked out slowly. The fake concern from the onlookers was thick in the air. Karen raised a trembling finger at Lily, who stood frozen beside me. "She shoved me," Karen whimpered. I let out a breath so sharp it felt like it might break something inside me. "You walked onto my land, trespassed, staged a fall, and now you're lying to law enforcement?" Paramedics arrived. One asked if I had security footage. I didn't say a word. Just walked to the porch, pulled the memory card from the camera, and handed it over. Karen's eyes twitched. She knew. She knew she'd been caught. But she still had one last trick that day. While we dealt with the paramedics and deputies, Karen's lackeys slipped another violation notice into our mailbox, citing us for hostile behavior, unauthorized fencing, and unapproved landscaping. They literally tried to punish us for cleaning up the damage they caused. This wasn't a battle anymore. This was all-out war. And Karen? She wasn't just cruel. She was calculated. A master manipulator who weaponized rules, rumors, and fake paperwork like they were daggers. But she had one weakness. She thought we were alone. She didn't realize we were armed with evidence, with legal firepower, and with something she'd never understand. A family that refused to back down. By the time the footage of Karen's staged fall finished playing on the deputy's laptop, the air had changed. No more fake concern. No more gasps from neighbors. Just cold silence, and Karen still sitting on the gurney, eyes darting like a trapped animal. "This shows you tripping over your own foot, ma'am," the deputy said flatly. "There's no contact, no shove, no assault." Karen opened her mouth, but no words came out. I crossed my arms, voice low and tight. "You tried to frame my daughter. On camera. You want to talk consequences, Karen? We're just getting started." They let her off with a warning, for now. But the shift was clear. The neighborhood's queen was starting to lose her crown. That night, Lily sat at the kitchen table, laptop open, brows furrowed. She was reviewing every clip from our security system, flagging timestamps, organizing evidence, labeling files like a seasoned paralegal. "You should be resting," I said softly, pouring tea. She didn't look up. "She tried to ruin me," Lily murmured. "She used my face in that newsletter, called me dangerous, a threat, and people believed it." Then she looked up, eyes burning. "I'm not hiding anymore." My throat tightened with pride. "You're stronger than she'll ever be." The next morning, Maddie arrived like a storm in heels. Briefcase in one hand, coffee in the other, fire in her voice. "I've gone up against oil companies with less ego than this HOA," she said. "Let's peel her apart." We gathered everything. Every violation letter, drone footage, photos of the broken fence, the video of the fall, Even screenshots of Karen's online posts from HOA forums where she'd ranted about feral children and taking back control. Maddie grinned. This isn't just harassment. This is defamation, trespassing, fraud, maybe even child endangerment, depending on how the judge reads it. That same day, Lily and I delivered printed statements to the sheriff's department and the county clerk. And as if fate was done playing nice, we got a call from the FAA. We've reviewed the drone footage your daughter submitted, the agent said. Karen's drone recorded audio and visual without consent on private property. That's a federal violation. Boom. We had the truth, the law, and now the feds. Meanwhile, Karen doubled down. She started walking past our property twice a day, arms crossed, sunglasses perched like she thought she was invisible. I watched her from the porch, unmoving. She wanted to intimidate us. She had no idea she was walking straight into a firestorm. She didn't knock. At 9 a.m. sharp, Karen marched down our driveway like she owned it, flanked by two of her HOA loyalists dragging a folding table between them. Behind them came a parade of clipboard-wielding cronies, lawn chairs in hand, smug as sin. It looked like a yard sale. If the yard sale was run by a dictator on a power trip. Lily peeked out from behind the barn, eyes wide. Is this a joke? I sipped my coffee and didn't blink. No, this is a meltdown. They set up on my front lawn. My lawn. Table dead center, chairs in a semicircle, a pitcher of lemonade sweating in the sun like they were planning a brunch instead of a witch trial. One guy even unfurled a banner that read, Community First, HOA Disciplinary Tribunal. I couldn't make this up if I tried. Karen stepped onto my porch like it belonged to her. This is your final opportunity to comply, she declared, voice projecting like a stage actress. The board is prepared to issue consequences for your repeated violations. I didn't stand, didn't flinch, just stared into her Botox-tightened face and said, You're trespassing. Again. And this is the dumbest cosplay I've seen since Comic-Con came to the mall. Her face flushed beet red. We are executing a lawful HOA hearing. You and your daughter have violated noise ordinances, animal code, property lines, and you shot down my drone. Your illegal drone, I shot back. Recording a minor on private property, with audio, without consent. You're lucky it was just a shotgun and not the FAA knocking on your door. She ignored me and turned to her tribunal, flipping pages like a real judge. The board recommends immediate livestock removal, fines totaling $3,275, and a mandatory architectural review of your residence. At that moment, I stood, slowly, calmly. Let's make this real clear, Karen. This land has never been part of your HOA. You have no jurisdiction, no authority, no standing. And what you're doing right now, setting up a fake court on private land, that's trespassing, harassment, and potentially incitement. I whistled once, sharp. Lily emerged from the barn, folder in hand, camera already rolling. Her eyes locked on Karen with ice-cold precision. Karen's voice trembled. The juvenile may not be present during disciplinary proceedings. I took the folder from Lily and opened it slowly. Property deeds, boundary maps, video evidence, FAA reports, witness statements. Karen tried to regain control, raised her gavel. Yes, a literal gavel, and struck it hard against the table. The board finds you in... Sirens. 3 patrol cars rolled up our drive, gravel crunching like thunder. Karen froze mid-sentence. Her loyalists? Started folding chairs like the Titanic had hit an iceberg. Out stepped the police chief himself, Lily's godfather, sunglasses on, badge gleaming. He took one long look at the spectacle. Then he said, Detain the 2 men who unlawfully restrained the minor last week. And get that table off this porch before I charge someone with impersonating a judge. Karen's mouth hung open. Her gavel dropped. And for the first time since this war began, she looked afraid. Karen's gavel hit this table with a hollow clack as the sirens split the air. 3 squad cars rolled up our gravel drive, lights flashing. No sirens blaring anymore. But they didn't need them. The message was loud enough. Karen's make-believe tribunal came to a screeching halt. You could feel the fear crackle through the air like static before a storm. Her loyalists froze mid-motion, mid-sentence, mid-fantasy. The police chief stepped out first, sunglasses gleaming, slow and calm like a man who'd seen this kind of madness before and was about to clean house. He scanned the lawn. Folding chairs, fake judge, printed banner. Then he looked at me. I nodded once. He turned to his officers and said, flat and final, "Detain the 2 men who restrained the minor last week. We've reviewed the footage." The 2 HOA security guards didn't argue. One went ghost pale. The other tried to explain. "We were following orders," Karen said. Too late. The cuffs clicked. The gavel dropped. Karen snapped. "This is an outrage!" she shrieked, pushing past the folding table as the officers led her enforcers toward the cruisers. "You're making a massive mistake. I was executing my authority as HOA president." The chief didn't flinch. "Karen, you impersonated law enforcement. You orchestrated an illegal detainment of a minor. You distributed photos of a child without parental consent. You violated FAA regulations. Do I need to continue?" Her lips curled. She jabbed a finger at me. "He shot down my drone. That's destruction of property." The chief raised an eyebrow. "Did you have permission to fly that drone over private land, with audio?" Karen hesitated. Just for a second. It was enough. "I was monitoring compliance," she snapped. Another officer stepped forward, holding a box, a drone, or what was left of one. The camera lens was melted. The casing cracked. "We retrieved this from the evidence room," the officer said. "The drone had active audio, thermal imaging, and no registered flight path. The FAA has been notified." Karen's face contorted. Rage, fear, denial all twisted together. She turned to the crowd of neighbors now watching from the sidewalk and curb. "They're trying to silence me," she shouted. "This is political. He's using his connection to the chief to avoid accountability. This family has been out of control since day one." I stepped forward, calm, measured, holding up the printed boundary maps. "Karen, this is private land. We've never been part of your HOA. Your rules, your fantasies, your fake authority, they don't apply here." She pointed at Lily, trembling with fury. "She disrespected the HOA. She broke the rules. That child is a menace." The chief cut in, voice low and sharp. "That child is my goddaughter." Silence. Karen's mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. Then, one by one, her board members started backing away. A woman folded up her chair. A man quietly slipped the Community First banner off its poles and rolled it up like he couldn't get rid of it fast enough. One mumbled, "This isn't what I signed up for." Karen watched them go, breathing heavy, face red as blood. "You cowards! We had power. We had order. This is mutiny." "No," I said quietly. "This is accountability." She stood there trembling as the officers helped load the fake guards into the cruisers. The spectacle was over. The fake court disbanded. The folding chairs, the clipboards, the banners, all gone in minutes. But Karen stayed frozen, rooted to the ground like she still believed she could will it all back into existence. As the last patrol car rolled away, she finally turned and shouted over her shoulder, "This isn't over." I watched her walk away. No Range Rover this time. Just a furious woman stomping through the dirt, clutching the remains of her empire. And I believed her. Because tyrants don't surrender. They retaliate. Karen disappeared for 48 hours. No morning patrols, no anonymous flyers, no surprise violations, just silence. And it was terrifying. Because Karen didn't retreat. She regrouped. On the third morning, a sleek black sedan pulled up to the end of our driveway. Tinted windows, no HOA logos, no Karen. But I felt her all over it. A man in a charcoal suit stepped out, briefcase in hand, and approached the gate like he owned it. "Mr. Wallace," he called. "I represent Greenridge Estates in a legal advisory capacity." I didn't move, just leaned against the porch railing, arms crossed. "You mean you're Karen's new errand boy?" His jaw tightened. He held up a thick envelope like it was radioactive. "This is a formal notice of boundary reclassification, and property violation citations. The HOA board has voted to absorb the land your residence occupies into the Green Ridge Charter. I laughed. A hard, humorless thing. You people really think a vote gives you the power to rewrite a map? The board believes. I don't care what they believe. I cut him off. This isn't a church. It's a joke. And that envelope means about as much to me as a menu at a restaurant I didn't walk into. He placed the envelope through the gate. We expect full compliance within 10 business days. Failure to comply will result in legal escalation. So will trespassing. Tell your client that. He left without another word. Lily picked up the envelope with 2 fingers, frowning. What now? Now? I said. Now we go first. That night, Maddie showed up with a new file. Thick, heavy, and devastating. They've given us everything we need, she said, eyes gleaming. The drone footage, the detainment, the smear campaign, even that joke of a tribunal. This isn't just a nuisance suit anymore. We're going federal. We filed the lawsuit the next morning. Harassment, defamation, trespassing, attempted coercion, illegal surveillance, false detainment of a minor. By lunch, 2 HOA board members had resigned. By dinner, Karen was on the HOA forums calling it a witch hunt fueled by vengeance and lies. But the neighborhood had started to shift. Quiet nods at the mailbox. A neighbor dropped off cookies with a note that said, "It's about time someone stood up to her." Still, I knew Karen wasn't done. 2 nights later, I heard the sound, metal grinding. I ran outside. A tow truck was backing into my driveway, and my truck, parked on my own gravel lot, was already hooked up. "Hey!" I shouted, storming down the steps. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" The driver looked startled. HOA order. Said it was parked illegally overnight." I pointed to the land under his wheels. "Does that look like a street to you?" He scratched his head. "Lady said the map changed." Of course she did. I walked back inside, calm, cold, controlled, picked up the phone. "Maddie," I said, "Karen just tried to steal my truck." There was a pause, then a dangerous little chuckle. "Perfect," Maddie replied. "Time to go nuclear." The courthouse smelled like cheap carpet and tension. I sat at the plaintiff's table, Maddie beside me, calm as ever. Lily was behind us in the gallery, flanked by neighbors who'd once feared Karen, but now came to support us. Across the aisle, Karen sat with her new attorney, an overcompensating man in a 3-piece suit who looked like he got his law degree from a cereal box. Karen wore all white, like she was attending her own canonization. Her arms were folded, jaw clenched so tight I thought she might crack a molar. The judge entered. Everyone stood. Then it began. Maddie didn't waste time. She slashed through every piece of evidence like a scalpel. The security footage of the illegal detainment, the drone files with audio and thermal capture, the falsified violation letters, and the absurd HOA court. And most damning, Karen's newsletter, featuring a photo of Lily with a headline suggesting she was a community threat. Maddie turned toward the judge. "Your Honor, this isn't just harassment. This is a coordinated, malicious campaign against a private citizen and her daughter, one designed to intimidate, defame, and isolate. The HOA was weaponized by a woman who thought the law didn't apply to her." Karen stood so suddenly her chair screeched. "I enforced order!" she barked. "That family defied every community standard. They resisted integration, refused cooperation, and raised a belligerent child who disrespected authority." The judge didn't blink. "Sit down, Ms. Kavanaugh." Karen's lawyer tugged her arm, but she yanked free. "No, this is a setup. They're using the system to silence me. That child is dangerous. Her father's manipulating law enforcement. This is a vendetta." I rose. "You tried to tow my truck off private property, Karen. You had men grab my daughter off her own land. You lied, trespassed, and stalked my family for months. This isn't a vendetta. This is justice knocking on your damn door." The room fell still. The judge cleared his throat. "This court finds in favor of the plaintiff. Karen froze. Effective immediately, the judge continued. Ms. Kavanaugh and the Green Ridge HOA are ordered to pay damages for harassment, defamation, and unlawful surveillance. A restraining order is granted. You are not to contact, approach, or surveil the Wallace family in any way, physical or digital. This includes any proxy communication through HOA members or third parties. Karen's mouth hung open. You can't silence me like this. You think you've won? The judge stood. You are dismissed. Her voice cracked as she screamed. I am the HOA! I built this community from nothing! You're destroying everything! But no one answered. As we exited the courtroom, Lily slipped her hand into mine. Is it really over? She whispered. I looked back at Karen, still shouting to no one, eyes wild. No, I said quietly. But we just took away her crown. Karen didn't show her face for 3 days after the ruling. No newsletters, no patrols, no sudden violations posted to mailbox doors. Her Range Rover sat in her driveway like a forgotten relic, collecting leaves and judgment. Then, the cracks started to show. The HOA board members began to scatter. 2 resigned publicly, citing leadership concerns. 1 stopped by my house with a Tupperware of lemon bars and a quiet apology. We didn't know it had gone that far, she mumbled. You didn't want to know, I replied. The Green Ridge newsletter vanished. The HOA email list went dark. The golf cart patrols? Gone. By week's end, a new banner quietly appeared at the entrance of the neighborhood, tacked over the old metal HOA sign. Welcome to Green Ridge. Now 100% Karen-free. No one took credit, but no one took it down either. And Karen? She clung on like a barnacle to a sinking ship. She filed a countersuit, some nonsense about emotional distress, neighborhood disharmony, and the unlawful dethroning of a community leader. Maddie crushed it in 2 weeks. The judge tossed it with prejudice and fined her for wasting the court's time. That was the final straw. Karen put her house up for sale the very next morning. It sat for 3 months. Word had gotten around. No one wanted to inherit the drama, or the taint. Eventually, she sold it at a loss to a couple from Oregon who thought the HOA drama was hilarious and proudly hung a wind chime shaped like a middle finger on the front porch. They told me they named it Karen's Ghost. We all laughed. And me? I hosted a barbecue. Nothing flashy. Just neighbors, lawn chairs, grilled steaks, and music. But this time, people came without fear. Kids ran across the yard without someone counting decibels. Lily played fetch with Pogo near the chicken coop without a single clipboard in sight. We even made a banner of our own and strung it between 2 oak trees. Green Ridge Liberation Day. Lily stood on a cooler, raised her lemonade, and shouted, "To the fall of tyrants and the rise of common sense!" Everyone cheered. I looked around at the people, the land, the sky, finally wide open again. Karen had tried to make us afraid of our own home. Instead, we made it stronger. As the sun dipped low and the laughter echoed across the fields, I knew one thing for certain. She had ruled with fear. But we won with truth. And if she ever tried to come back, well, the restraining order would speak first. But if that failed, we still had the cooler and the wind chime. In the end, Karen lost everything, because she thought fear could silence truth. But when you stand your ground and protect your own, even fake power crumbles. Have you ever dealt with someone like this? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below. Like the story? Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell. More HOA chaos is coming.